going to red flag the event. They're going to stop the field, restart the race, and try and settle it.
All right, it all starts. It starts with the Blaney behind William Byron. He goes to make a move. Byron with a big block. Watch this. Kind of a late block. Got him stacked up. Went back to the bottom. Side draft and then just stacked him up behind him.
Kyle Busch got into the back of the 24 and turned him sideways.
And did Brad Keselowski get into the back of Kyle Busch?
Tore up a lot of good race cars, Clint. Man, you hate to see that in these qualifying races.
Yeah, Keselowski, as you mentioned, he was right there in the middle of it as well.
Yeah, and I think this is going to start with this car right here. Blaney's going to pull up.
Yeah, but
and what's going to happen here is Brad Keselowski's into the back of the 8, you can see the flames coming out of Kyle Busch's car, trying to keep from getting into the back of the 24, but the 6 is pushing Kyle Busch so hard that he can't get checked up. You saw the flames come out of the pipes.
Doesn't take much. That movement, as soon as he moved and made it, it was kind of a late block, but it was still a good block. And when Blaney went back down to the bottom, it just stacked them up and they run them over from behind. You saw them all lift, just like you said. Flames tell all sign when they come out of those pipes that they're lifting.
Red flag at Daytona with 13 laps to go. Here are the cars officially involved in the collision, some of which are on the rollback and headed for the garage. A lot of cleanup between turn 4 and the entrance to the trioval. We'll get back to racing just as soon as the track is clean and clear to do so.
And you see Alex Bowman up the racetrack, and then they start zigging and zagging here. And
well, obviously William Byron and Bowman, that's where it ended up. But the movement from the 6 and the 22, jockeying for position, trying to outduel one another to that position of passing Chastain, that's what stacked all those guys up and got them in trouble. Those guys were going for it. Chastain was holding them up. You saw the 6 go to the bottom. You saw the 22 go to the outside. The race was on, and unfortunately those guys behind him.
This gives you a much better view right there. You see the 24 car just being pushed, and sometimes you're not aligned, and you know you're not lifting, and that car gets to moving around, and you hope it works out, and it just didn't work out right here.
We saw this same scenario playing out at the duels the other night when Blaney got in a wreck. You really can't pin it on anybody. It's hard racing, everybody going for it, but when those cars move in front of them, it slows the energy down. Wiped a bunch of them out, Kevin.
Well, now it's just a matter of how many of these guys are wrecked really bad and who's not wrecked bad enough to be done. Even if you're not wrecked bad enough to be done, it's it's good to salvage some of those positions. But man, we got a ton of really big names on this list.
Now, not all of these cars are out of the race.
That's
Roughly half of them have made it back to pit road, but with the red flag out, no work is allowed to be done on these cars until the red is lifted and the yellow flag resumes. So cars that were either undamaged or chose not to stop prior to pit road being opened are lined up here on the back straightaway. And as soon as the track is clean enough to resume competition, the yellow will come out, pit road will be opened, and they'll get serviced.
At that particular point, he just got a little tap from the 11 underneath him there because they were 4 wide. There was just nowhere to go and wound up getting spun out.
Can't say he wasn't going for it.
Yeah, and that's just, they're 2 wide below Chase there, and Spotter's got to be telling him 2 wide. I don't know what the spotter said, but they were 2 wide below him, and
hold on.
Yeah, he went too low, and Denny Hamlin was there with the car below him, and he couldn't go anymore, and the 14 wound up getting spun out right there.
Yeah, Daniel Suarez had a run to the inside of Hamlin, so they were stacked up 4 wide.
Well, it's one thing to shoot a 4 wide gap if you've got momentum. No momentum getting into 3.
Yeah, and you see him let go of the steering wheel with this rag and pinion steering on the front of these cars. It just whips the wheel back and forth. So a lot of guys choose to just let go of the wheel and not get their wrist hurt.
We are under caution for the second time in Las Vegas. That is Christopher Buescher's RFK Racing Ford. Watch the right front as he rolls through the banking here, and you'll see what happened.
A big lift right there already. I think he knew something was going on. What it was, that right front wheel falls off. See the lug nut fall off right with it. Wheel comes off.
Well, that's a great camera work by our guys to catch what is happening right there. You see
there's the lug nut, and here comes the wheel, and the wheel's cut in half. So that was like that for a little bit. You could tell he lifted hard and was already starting to slow down. He felt it probably start vibrate pretty violently, and then it came off.
He had taken only right side tires on his pit stop. He's got some pretty heavy damage there.
Yeah, he hit hard. He's hooking the record up to it. I'd say his day's done.
Here in Las Vegas, 32 laps complete. There's the AMR safety crew on the scene. And if we widen out just a bit, you'll see the welder truck parked at the bottom of the banking so they can get his equipment up there to repair the wall. Now, because of that, they have red flagged the cars and stopped them on the back straightaway so that this work can be completed in a minimum amount of time. They will be putting slick tires on at the competition. Caution that this will be declared a dry race. You don't have the option of running one or the other. NASCAR either mandates it's wet weather conditions or it's dry conditions, and we're going to move from wet to dry on this caution coming up. Battle for third. And there's the caution. Woo. Take a breath and we'll take a break. We got 30 laps in. Now we're going to have non-competitive pit stops for this first round of stops. Cars will line up when they come back on track in the order in which they entered pit road, unless they have an abnormally long stop. Larry, in addition to changing to the slick tires, what kind of adjustments can they make in this changeover?
Yeah, it'll be some of the same adjustments they made to go with the wet weather tires. They can adjust the blades on the front rear sway bar, how stiff or soft they are. They can adjust each of the shocks. You've got adjustments on the two rear shocks, the front shocks. That's probably the two biggest things, Mike, that they'll be adjusting, which is what they adjusted when they put those wet weather tires on.
We saw some of those right sides coming off there. It looks like Truex right front was chewed up a little bit more than your race leader Kyle Larson, but I think they still had plenty of life in them. That one looks good.
Here's Bubba Wallace's radio.
When we use it like Wilkesboro and some other places, when we go to the slicks, it's a massive change. You're going to think something is broke until it settles back in. Yep, good reminder there.
Absolutely.
Booty Barker, Bubba's crew chief, with a bit of advice there. All right, we'll get everybody lined up in the same positions they were in when pit road was opened and get back to green.
The Hunt Brothers Pizza onboard camera with Joey Logano. This car was terrible to start with, and now we see a caution.
I see a helicopter coming. There's Larson. It's a caution for weather, guys.
Well, it's not for that helicopter. Rain on the racetrack. And hopefully it's brief. So things are complicated for Kyle Larson. NASCAR rules require that to remain eligible in playoff contention, you must start every scheduled Cup race. If you're unable to start a race, you can request a waiver from NASCAR, but that is not guaranteed. So obviously, due to weather at Indianapolis, Larson was not here to start the 600. However, it's expected he's going to get in this car in relief of Justin Allgaier. We believe that is Kyle Larson's golf cart headed for the garage area.
I recognize that driving suit. There he is. Get in position. Boy, you couldn't have timed this any better with weather, a caution.
So there is Kyle, and here's the radio from car number 5.
Man, I mean, the timing of a couple of minutes would have been perfect for Kyle to get in right here.
Yeah, I know, and at this point,
we can't sacrifice the spots of the car by just putting him in if this is just a little delay right here. You know, if the rain is going to come, which we all think it is, I think we've got to keep you out even for a restart right now. So we'll have to make that call.
So right now we are under a lightning delay for lightning in the area at 249 laps complete in the Coca-Cola 600.
Back here in the race day studios as we are under a red flag after 249 laps of the scheduled 400 laps in the Coca-Cola 600.
What do we got going on out there, guys?
About an hour ago, it was raining sideways here, and it was lightning, and it was thunder, and NASCAR, nobody would have blamed NASCAR for calling the race at that moment. There was water 3 and 4 inches deep on pit road.
Doesn't look like that's the case.
The jet dryers and the NASCAR track drying system, the Air Titans, they are out in full force, and they are working to get this track dry, even as we still see lightning in the distance. So, folks, we're not done yet.
We may have started today, but it looks like we're going to end tomorrow.
All right. So, Shannon, I guess we resolved hardly anything, except that racing can be a lot of fun on and off the track.
It kind of sounded in line with what they were doing.
We're good at not resolving
Larry
anything.
and Jamie exactly agreed.
Welcome back to Charlotte Motor Speedway, where the track drying efforts, well, they're trying, but goodness, we had rain sideways. We had thunder and lightning earlier, and then that storm system moved through. However, what remained was really heavy humidity. NASCAR's had jet dryers. They've had their track drying system, the Air Titans, out there, and have made little progress. So what we're looking at is the possibility of it taking well into the early morning hours to get this track dry, get rid of the standing water, and make it raceable again. So the Coca-Cola 600 is official. Christopher Bell is the winner.
We had heard some rain on the radio. Looking out the window, I don't really see
that. That might have been Reddick screaming it because he was out front.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was just right there. Kyle Busch was just really trying to avoid the chaos that was going on in front of him, and there just wasn't anywhere to go. It's just a wild restart.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't rain, we're going to see more of that.
We don't see rain on this camera. Well, maybe we do a little bit.
I'm on pit road, Jeff, here down near turn 4, and we're getting some raindrops. But that I can confirm that was the 45 Tyler Reddick who was screaming about raining when you heard that radio. He actually did that on the restart. As they got to the backstretch, he cleared the cars below him and immediately lit up the radio saying it's raining, it's raining, it's raining. And obviously it did then eventually start to drizzle here. The team is confirming they believe it is raining, of course.
Normally when we see cars come down pit road, they kind of stop in line. Well, NASCAR at tracks where wet weather tires are available, they have changed the procedure where they go under red, they stop the cars in the pit stall. They do this because if they believe there is a chance to restart the race and perhaps it's necessary to go to wet weather tires, the teams already are in their pit stalls. So the tires can be changed without an undue delay. Now, it'll be interesting because if you go back to the radar, right, it is sprinkling a little bit, but behind this, there are some heavy showers that I think would end the race for a visibility standpoint. When we talked to NASCAR this morning, they said, we will run wet weather tires on a wet racetrack. What would stop us from racing is visibility. Falling rain, if so much water on the racetrack, the mist covers the windshields. You see there's no windshield wipers, there's no tail lights. That was the discussion. They run those at the road courses, but there was no reason at the ovals because the drivers all said visibility's no good, and the flashing lights look like a strobe light. There's so many of them, it drives you crazy. So we'll be interested to see what the next 15 minutes look like.
We are limited right now on some of our camera angles that we can show to you because of lightning in the area. Now we're seeing the caution come out. Some of our camera operators had to come off of scaffolding and off of their elevated positions, and that's why we were going to more of the onboard cameras there, or maybe the robotics. And you're seeing now the weather coming in, affecting this race. The caution has come out. There's the radar. This is what these teams have been seeing over the last 25, 30 minutes.
Well, and 135 laps complete, 150 would be an official race. The debate on, what's going to happen with the weather as it comes through, that's kind of gone, because at this point, we're going to have to go back racing at some point to complete this race.
The cars are coming onto pit road, and they will stop in their pit stalls. And a reminder, though, when we go to a red flag, they cannot do any work on these cars.
So even without wet weather tires available, they still stop in the stall because NASCAR doesn't want crew members to have to come out on pit road. You mentioned rain, there perhaps is lightning in the area. This is just more efficient to get the teams. You can cover your car up. The driver then can get to cover and safety quicker and easier. I think this is something that should have been done years ago. It sounds simple, but it's a better process.
So pit road is not open, but what they're going to do, because there are puddles and standing water around this course, they're bringing the field onto pit road. They're going to stop them. They're going to red flag this race so that the air tundras can come out and blow off any of the standing water or the puddles that are on the course. Of course, Steve, you mentioned it earlier. Those of us that have been on the roads and you've driven before, you know there's hydroplaning. When you have standing water, that's even with rain tires or wet weather tires, you still have that possibility.
And now the good news is, you see in this shot right here, it doesn't look like the rain's coming down very heavily. So I believe that the air tundras can blow it off relatively quickly. We're also here at single file restarts. Anything to get back racing, I'm on board with, because the crowd is here. It looks good. I'm ready to see some racing.
Blaney on the outside, Larson on the inside. Green flag back in the air. 2 laps of racing at Indy. Who else is going to run out? And a wreck in turn 1. The caution comes out. There'll be another restart.
Yeah, for the 4th time today, we've seen a big pile up on the restart.
John Hunter Nemechek involved in the 42. Oh, there's Denny Hamlin, who had just come to pit road. He's
right
involved.
There, guys, are you okay?
Chase Briscoe has damage to that number 14.
And all these guys with damage, hope everyone's okay. Watch this. See, Nemechek came down the racetrack. Hemric was there. Big impact. Gosh, those are big wrecks.
Nemechek glanced off that inside, the barrier in between pit road and the outside wall.
Yeah, see, here comes Hemric. And yeah, he just, Hemric couldn't get slowed down like Nemechek expected that he could. They were on corner entry as well.
Yeah.
Which makes it even that much harder to gauge it.
We do not like the looks of that. I'm sure the fans here have been trying to not look back over to their left. Again, that's on the north side of the track. This is the radar and what it looks like. We're seeing a little darker green and even some yellow and red in there.
NASCAR was going to go green flag right here, but they're right next to us, and we're all looking at the same thing. We can see it raining right outside of turns 3 and 4. I think they wisely called this off.
There's no reason to restart. If we were 3 laps from halfway, 4 laps from halfway, and we think we can get a couple laps of racing in, or and maybe change the outcome of this race. But at this point, this race will become official in lap 100. It's halfway at the end of stage 2, whichever is sooner today. That would be halfway, which is before the end of stage 2. 200 miles an hour is nothing to mess with, nor should you run into the rain at any racetrack, but just have to sit and wait. Now this time they're going to stop him just short of the start finish line.
As soon as they're all stopped, they'll allow the crews to bring the covers out and put them on the cars. And it looks like it's rinse and repeat.
You guys stayed out at that caution just before the stage break, and you discovered that tires probably really do matter.
They do matter quite a bit. We were expecting more people to stay out with us. And when I was on the restart in the second row and I saw that tires were right behind me, I was like, oh, this is not good. This is not very good. But overall, actually, the 99 Chevy Camaro jockey is pretty sporty, actually. I'm not too worried about it. I'm just a little bit upset with myself because I feel like there is a couple decisions that I could have done a little bit better. But overall, like I said, the car is pretty good, and hopefully Mother Nature here can cooperate a little bit and we can go back at it.
I want to talk about last week for a second. You led the most laps ever in your career in a single race. You guys have just really been on fire as of late, especially you getting married, winning race Brazil, doing that sort of thing. It's a good time to be Daniel Suarez right now.
It's been a lot of fun, man. Last week in Richmond, it was a hell of a race. I mean, I haven't found one person that didn't enjoy the race, because the race was entertaining with the option tires. The most fun I ever had in a race car was the last stint with the red tires. you know, when you play video games and you put it, you play NASCAR the game and you put it in easy mode and you're passing everyone like that, like crazy. That's exactly how I felt in the last stint because everyone had older tires and I had new red, so it was unbelievable the difference. It was crazy. My team, they called the best race out there. The last caution we didn't need, but we still finished in the top 10, so it was a decent day.
You know who are a bunch of jokesters? This one team. They keep opening this door and motioning at us. Now they're not going to open it because we're pointing it out. These guys are always joking around. What's with them?
That's the boss of the jokers right there. Yeah. That's the king.
They have jokes and all sorts of. Do they do this to you too?
They do all the time. They do all the time. Look at them. Look at them. Yeah, these guys, they have a good time. And, you know, that's something that I actually love, you know, just to see the personalities of all these guys. Because my team, actually, they are joking all the time and they're playing around all the time. But it's a little different. These guys are just more funny, more... They're interesting guys. Yeah, my group of guys, they have a great time as well. But I feel like they get into a mode, you know, right before the race, and this is killing time, you know. And these guys, it almost looks like they're always just messing around.
Guys, Trackhouse is the fun team, I've discovered.
All right, I'll give you the sad news. This one for today is done. We will be back tomorrow at 11 o'clock for the conclusion of today's race. It'll be on USA. And that means that we're hoping to get all 149 laps remaining in this race in.
Oh, Berry's gone, and he goes up and over. Huge hit for Josh Berry. Erik Jones is involved. There's Austin Cindric. That was wild. Now the AMR safety team content, and there's Josh. There we go. There's the thumbs up.
That was a scary wreck. Watch this car, how quickly, when it gets spun, contact. The two was getting pushed, and as soon as that car was pushing him, got turned around and went. This is what scared me, because Josh is hanging on his belts. He's not in his seat. He's hanging on his belts and has that frontal impact.
Everything that went right for the 34 to set his car back on the wheels didn't go right for Josh Berry, and I'm with you, Jeff. The flip is the first concern, but then the hit into the wall when gravity is pulling you out of the seat is just different. Multi-point harness is trying to hold your hips and your lower body tight into that seat. But as you run all day, the heat, the sweat, you know, everything kind of loosens up a little bit. You have to keep tugging on those belts. It was so great for Josh to get out.
.38 car, remember he served a penalty. They're going to try to get around him. Todd's going to probably stay right to the bottom. This late in the race is no need in playing games with this.
This is what happened to AJ Allmendinger earlier. And look at that, look at the speed of the pack. Here we go. Cindric's gone, so too is Logano. Harrison Burton's in there. LaJoy. The whole field. My goodness.
Something stacked everybody up on the front two rows. The pushes got, something happened and slowed them down. Look at this mess. We were looking at the back of the pack. I knew something happened at the front to get everybody stacked up. Watch the bottom row. Right there. The two got so far out in front of the six, and then with all the pushing and shoving, when he got to the two car, he was going so fast. Right here, boom, and around he goes.
He got there, and he was also kind of moving from right to left. He wasn't, you know, it happened so quick.
Look at the push. But this is what I saw.
That's
the pushing,
right.
And the 22 was getting pushed by the 21.
Right.
The 21 was getting pushed by the car behind him. It all happened, Dip, because the two got out so far.
Watch this two car right here. Gets pushed, bang, right off the 47. Stenhouse is able to keep it straight.
Look at the 9, Chase Elliott, big impact. What are you talking about? A big wreck with big ramifications for the playoffs. I mean, Austin Cindric's essentially leading this race, and if he wins it, he's advancing to the next round, and here he is crashed.
Kyle Larson and Kyle Busch, they sail through. Here's the view from the 47. Oh, wow.
Joey hit me from behind as I was pushing him. Not really anything I can do there. Yeah, 10-4, man.
What we witnessed right back prior to the playoffs beginning, and that was a very stable Joey Logano and not face. What happened here with the pace car? It has hit the barrels on pit entry.
So the pace car turning in late.
Oh my goodness.
Was there a contact with the 9?
Oh my goodness.
What has happened?
They're going to have to fix. They're going to have to fix the end of these barrels. The barrels at the end of the wall. Those are there for safety in case the car were to impact the end of the wall.
Yeah, he was not going to make it. The late decision.
Chase Elliott say that was a bit of a late decision.
I tell you what, you never know what you're going to see. I mean, just when you think you've seen it all.
This is a new one for me.
So you heard him. Chase said he looked like the pace car made a late decision to come on pit road.
Now you might be relieved to know that the pace car driver in this this moment wasn't Michael Phelps. He was the honorary starter in the pace car. But yeah, that was that's a pretty severe angle, Jeff. What's this?
Just turned too late. There was no way he could make it.
Oh.
Jeff, I'll give you credit. You've given Diff and I rides in the pace car for 20 weeks straight. I feel pretty good about our performance. We haven't done this yet.
Jeff, you haven't given us that kind of a ride.
Well, maybe next year.
Oh, it got that.
Oh, yeah.
That tickled MJ's funny bone, that's for sure.
You know what, though? For championship teams, drivers, that's something that kind of takes a little tension away for a little bit, right? It gives you something else to focus on a little bit. And now the pace car official in NASCAR, they're not laughing about it.
And yes, put this one on the things you didn't expect to see as we welcome you back to the NASCAR Cup Series Championship presented by Briscoe. Pace car hitting the end of pit road sand barrels. And that's why they're being replaced, not replaced, just fixed, put back into place, and pit entry getting fixed up. That's why we've come to this stoppage, and everybody working as quickly as they can.